I'd like to invite Ms. Maria Fernanda Juppet, the CEO of Crypto Market, bringing in a wealth of experience as a corporate lawyer specializing in corporate structures, multinational companies, regulatory law, and crypto assets compliance. Her diverse background includes administrative and management roles across business, public, and university institutions. I would like to welcome Ms. Maria to come onto the stage and take it over. And of course, we have had quite a few interactions since yesterday, Maria, and you've been a part of them. And I would love to hear what you have to say about the generation of strategic alliances to increase global coverage. Warm welcome to Maria.
Thank you all for the patience. I know most of you are hungry at this point and a little bit overwhelmed because we have received a lot of wonderful information through the past hours. The idea of this presentation, it's not to sell, even though my marketing team apparently did that. It's to talk about some things that we've been discussing all through the summit. First, alliances. Second, cooperation. Third, regulation. These are issues for fintech companies because in the end, we've been living through the illusion that we can go global. And this, in fact, it's an illusion when we work through crypto, when we're trying to move payments forward different countries or different continents. Because most of the studies, most of the conversations have been held from Europe, United States, spaces in which there are markets on their own, they have standards of their own, and they can't have the same regulation working up together. But what happened with emerging countries? What happened when you don't have that unity? For example, LATAM for us, it's an illusion. LATAM doesn't exist. You have a lot of countries that seem to speak Spanish, but they don't speak the same Spanish. Sometimes we don't even understand within each other. So when we speak about regulations, it's exactly the same thing. This is why strategic alliances, it's really important. It's only assessed that I'm a nerd, sorry. I've been studying most of my life, but now in the real world, there's a lot of things to come through. So what is the challenge when you are a fintech company? I stand alone, and I raise tremendous amount of capital to be able to stay in every country or region that I'm focusing, or I build up relationships, which is one of the things that we've been discussing all through the last 2 days. For us, the answer is clear, alliances, because if you're a startup, you can't raise enough money to conquer the world. And it's not efficient. That's another thing that we're gonna speak up. Why I say for us? Because it depends on your organization DNA. Every strategic ruling, every strategic decision that we want to take in any company we're part of has to feel right. If we like to be in control, we need to raise money. Because if you build alliances, you're gonna have to trust. And if you're a control freak, it's impossible to trust. Is this good or bad? It's not relevant at all. The important thing is to know your corporation, to look it in the eye, and to align your project to your own boundaries. And that's what we're talking about now. How to make that comparison, how to have that decision. So the control issue is the first thing that we need to check. Do we need control, or we're willing to let it go? So, in this line of ideas, you can keep it or you can trust in other companies. How do we share? How do we choose these other companies to trust? Look for companies that have exactly your same ethics standards, your same point of views. In crypto, we have two different worlds colliding. Those that believe that the crypto space is absolutely free and it shouldn't be KYC'd, which is a valid point of view, because we don't believe in the central banks, we don't believe in the concentration of capital, we don't believe in the concentration of information. We want to escape from the big brother of Orwell in the end. This is going to end with travel rule. For the other side of crypto exchanges, we believe in KYC, we believe in knowing our customer, we believe in knowing our partners. Which vision is better? Who cares? The important thing is that the vision that you're aligned with is the same vision with the people you work with. Otherwise, you're gonna be having perturbations all the time while you try to conduct business. So maybe I'm a little bit light on morals in this part, but the important thing is to be true to yourself and true to your organization. This is going to prevent you of losing time in a lot of meetings that are not going to make you go anywhere. The second issue is, do I want better profit with a lot of more costs, or I want to share profit? If I want to conquer the world alone, this means that I need to have teams in different countries. This means that I have to have funding in different countries, but I'm going to have all the revenue for myself. If I share and I have alliances, I'm going to be splitting up the revenues of operations, yes, but I'm not going to have to endure the costs of the operation that are not only based in money. That is something that we're going to discuss in a little bit later. But for us, the question always is, 100% of zero is more or less than a 50% of something. So that is something that we need to check. If it is a market in which you can have full control, full access, and you're not going to make mistakes, go for it. But if it's a market in which you're not really aware, you don't have the real information, maybe it's better to align with someone that does. The investment requirements, this is something that we state. When crypto regulations start to appear in different countries, one of the trends is that they look at us as EMIs, or money institutions. So this incorporation that was funding free in terms of having securities in banks for the clients is starting to shift off, is starting to wear off, which means that in certain countries, to be able to operate, you're going to have $1 million, $500,000 into some bank account, just sitting to guarantee your customers that you have enough funding to respond if it's necessary. So you don't only have to calculate the cost of the team that you're going to have, of the advisors that you need to hire because they're very important, but also the money that's going to be sitting there into the operation. So it's something that we should concern. Not even start speaking about liquidity. That's another issue by itself. So, other challenge that we've came across, we're in 6 countries right now. We're in Chile, Peru, Argentina, Brazil, and Colombia, and starting Ireland in Europe. The cultural issues are tremendous. You need to check the differences of every country, and some countries are different within the regions. For example, northern Brazil is not the same as South Brazil. If you check the things that the regulators have in mind, the challenges, the problems, here in the Middle East it's exactly the same. You have different kinds of technology, you have different kind of bankerizing for the users, you have different levels of financial education, and you need to deal with each one within its challenges on its own. So in the end, every time you go to a new jurisdiction, you have the cost of knowledge. It's gonna consume time, it's gonna consume money, and you're gonna make mistakes. This is not necessarily bad. Sometimes you need to make mistakes to be better, as a company as well, not only as a human being. But it's something that you need to check. There are gonna be a lot of mistakes in the way. And the last part, regulation challenges. Every regulator, they say, if you want to incorporate with us, if you want to work into our country, you should work with AML. You should know your customers. You should have a KYC. But when you start working in each country, you realize that the perspective of the interpretation for the regulation is different. So when you have a global framework, you're starting to have issues. Because when we look at this problem from a European standard, you look at MiCA, and it's rather easy, more or less. You have a framework that they're going to manage to talk within each other at a governmental point of view and make it work together because they have experience in this. But in other jurisdictions, it's another problem by itself. The global illusion of fintech is over. The new regulations state that you have to have a local incorporation of the companies, even if you are a foreigner company. You have to have an agency, you have to open a real company, or work through partners that have the permits, the registers, or the licenses that you need. This idea of cheating the system and making payments through cards, credit cards, debit cards, it's over. And with travel rule, governments are gonna require the complete traceability of a transaction from one continent to the other. So you're gonna need to have access to that information to the same standards. And why this is relevant? Because if you send a SWIFT payment from China to Latin America, that SWIFT payment is not gonna take less than 12 hours. It's gonna be made in US dollars, probably, and the rates are gonna change. So you send an amount of money that you know, and you receive whatever God lets you receive. If you're in election day, it's a very bad day to do it. So in the end, you have that problem. But if you do the same wire transfer by crypto, you have it within an hour. The rates are clear, the cost and expenses are cheaper, but you have the travel rule issue. You need traceability. You need trustworthy allies to build upon. So in the end, some of the regulation challenges that we need to face here, if the presentation lets me. Can I receive some help, please? No, I can't? We're sleeping? We're sleeping. Okay, but some of the regulation challenges, I need to move it. Oh, there it is, thank you. Some of the regulated challenges had to do with interpretation of regulation. If you check, for example, for us, the Brazilian new crypto law and the Chilean regulation and the Colombian regulation, because those have crypto regulations currently going on, they're rather the same. The AML regulators in Argentina, the AML regulators in Peru, almost the same, you need to report. But when you check the cases, when you take the information, the perspective that the countries use to interpret all these laws, they are completely different because they're based on their history. For example, for Brazil, main focus, political corruption. Are politics being paid through crypto? Argentina, tax evasion. They want to know if the people are paying their taxes or not. Usually they're not. If we check, for example, Colombia, Mexico, drug dealing. They're very focused in stopping drug dealing payments through crypto. If we work with Chile, my own personal favorite for obvious reasons, we're into white-collar crime. We've been having so many cases of collusion, so many cases of insider trading in the last years. So that is what we're focused on. People that try to avoid, just because of privilege, the rules. So in the end, how do we know how to check that? And of course, Ireland, sorry, I was forgetting my new favorite, because I'm living in Dublin now, terrorism. You go with the same manuals, with the same politics, and they get rejected by the regulators because they don't have the perspective they're looking into. So it's really important to talk to the proper advisors and to talk to the proper consultants to get it right. And if it's better to have allies that have all this knowledge and that can share it with you in order for creating better networks. Some issues, well, proper national consultants, that's gambling. We've been listening to wonderful consultants here that are very trustworthy as far as what we've heard. That it's something that is really needed when you need to open in a new country, because it's really normal that they don't give you the full information, or you don't know what questions to ask. So if you don't know the questions, you're not going to be able to fully prepare your strategy. The law interpretation, we already covered that, and the requirement of senior management in the ground. This is something that's coming across in several regulations across the globe. So you need to incorporate, but not only you need to incorporate, you need to send people. But you don't only need to send people, you need to send people that actually makes decisions, which is expensive because you end up globally wide with all your managers at different time zones. And the meetings get at mental times, really mental. Because in the end, you need to organize everyone to work in a global structure, but fractured around the globe. The state guarantee deposits, we cover that, and the cultural issues. What works in one country doesn't work in the other. For example, in crypto, for us, banking in Chile, real easy. Most everyone is bankerized. Brazilian with PIX, transfers really easy. Peru, not that easy. You have a lot of people that need to be able to make cash deposits. Same thing in Colombia. So you need to realize what are the gateways for your potential customers if you're in B2C. What they need. They need cash. They need wires. What kind of product you need to adapt for them to be able to assist you, to work with you, to collaborate with you. And a concept that's been fully covered through the last days, financial education. Yes, this is a volatile world. Yes, we bring more risk into people's lives, especially if they don't understand crypto. That is the reason why we need to help them learn, but not in a position in which we're looking them like they're beneath us. We need to take our customers and accompany them because they're their most important partners. They need to feel the respect that they deserve. And that is part of the same respect our allies deserve. In the end, what we're sharing with you today, it's a vision. It's the fintech vision. In the Women in Fintech panel a couple of minutes ago, we talked about collaboration. But collaboration, it's in fintech DNA. A very funny anecdote that I had with my co-founders, who I'm really in love with, because they're from that generation that don't understand these gender issues, was last year when I was appointed as CEO. We get coverage from Brazilian Forbes, and Chilean Forbes, because this was news. First CEO in crypto in LATAM. And the answer of my bosses was, why this is relevant? We don't understand why this is news. It's, well, you know, in the outside world, women don't get these positions. Let me tell you that. And they say, why? This is a private matter. Why it doesn't say that you've studied a lot, that you worked with us 2 years? Why that is not relevant? Because we're changing the world now. And fintech gives us the space to do it. To make compatible, to have everything at whatever cost we're willing to pay. But this is not only a woman's perspective. It's a general perspective. It's the DNA of the industry. So that it's something that, at least for me, gives me a lot of hope. I'm wishing I didn't bore you so much. Thank you for the patience, and whatever question you have, I'll be most than grateful to answer.